on Africa. So the speaker, he argued that the imperialist nation, they stayed in Africa long enough to destroy the old way that people were managing themselves, and managing themselves was basically the tribal system, where they would select a king or clan leader, and then they would have like elders. There would be some kind of parliament. It's a kind of like a local royalty together with parliamentary function. That was destroyed. Europeans redrew the map, destroyed the basically the way that Africa was divided before that, and so they stayed long enough to basically eradicate that tribal system, but not long enough for it to be replaced with anything else. So a lot of leaders, a lot of African leaders, they were coming into existence, trying to figure out how to rule the continent without much success. The business of development and aid was a video about basically now there is a movement in development aid where there is a collaboration between the private sector, the public sector, in order to provide aid. So that means that the money that is allocated for development aid is now being supplemented by private funds who co-invest. So private initiatives, if they can support the development in Africa, then they can also claim some development money. So development money and private money go hand in hand, and what we saw in the video, that leads to initiatives that where actually the latter objective, in order to make sure that the local people benefit and they can develop themselves, is often neglected in favor of the private initiatives. So we saw, for example, a palm field, or like a completely newly developed palm oil field in Zambia, in a relatively poor area, that was put there with a lot of ecological cost and a minimum of local people who were working there, who had regular employment as a result of that Zam oil, I think, coming into existence. So it basically the question is, does it really benefit the people? And to make things worse is that actually the private sector, the private part of these initiatives, they don't really care about the development of people. They say, well, okay, we hire people, we pay taxes, so actually it's up to the government to provide facilities like schools and police stations and infrastructure. That's not up to us. These kinds of like promises are being made by local governments, but they're not being enforced with the private sector. So people who have an interest in there, they see that their interest is actually in conflict with the private initiatives of these Western companies, and there are many problems. We saw a lot of bad examples, but there are also were one or two like in the video was one good example about the guy who went to what's it called, that island, Lamu Janakte. I forgot. Freddie Mercury was born there. Anyway, they did ecological farming, and
Tax haven you're talking about.
no, it's not a tax haven. Actually, tax haven, that was a different problem. Actually, this Zam oil. Not only did they not deliver on the promise made to the people to create facilities and to create a lot of permanent employment for people. Also, their profits, their revenues would go through a outside.
They don't pay taxes.
They don't pay taxes in Zambia. So the fact that the German government is actually investing or co-investing a lot of money in this is completely ludicrous. Another example was that company that was importing Dr. Oetker pizzas into Kenya. They they used development money used for development aid to develop
private company.
Yeah, so it's that was completely a mismatch between the private interests and the public interest. So there's a lot of room for improvement in these collaborations.
Right.
Right.
This is last week. Yes.
Yeah, that was the okay. So now the.
Are you going to show another one?
Yes. Actually, maybe this one first. Or I did this for a reason. Actually, I'm not.